Hello, good morning. Vlogmas day 6, Saturday. Man, the lighting is really good today. My house is north facing, so I don't really get a lot of light like in the front of my house. So this is like really good. I'm here for this. Let's see, Saturday. It is Saturday. I would love to say that the weekend is like the weekend. I kick back and relax and just knit and play with the dogs, but that's not how it is. I usually have a lot of work. I'm a person that stays really busy. I do a lot of things, and this fall was particularly very, very busy. I did a lot of lives. We did Fiberween, and we started up the podcast and stuff like that. So I was a very, very busy person. I'm sitting here letting my dragons harvest because the merge event started last night. So pretty excited about that. They're just sitting there harvesting right now while I am talking to you guys. So last night I released the Weasley stocking, which did really well. People are like, they love that stocking, and I'm like, I love that you love that stocking. I also stumbled upon a podcast last night. I'm not sure where they're from, but it's a Spanish-speaking country, so I had to turn on the captions in English. It was just like the front of the thumbnail for the video had them in their superstitious pullover, and I was like, oh, that's my superstitious pullover. So I clicked on it, and oh my gosh, they said so many nice things about me, about the superstitious pullover, about the design of the PDF itself. I put a lot of work into PDFs. I'm like a very visual person, and I like to express myself through my PDFs, my graphics and stuff like that. So even if a pattern is a flop, usually the PDF is like really good. So I put a lot of time, probably 16 to 20 hours developing like the PDF and its theme and its layout. Anywho, I stumbled across their podcast, and my heart was so happy to hear someone be so happy about a design that I made. And they were also talking about like the fact that there weren't short rows in the sweater, because there's no short rows. I couldn't figure out how exactly to manipulate those short rows while also continuing the chart and things not disrupting each other and getting all crazy. And especially to translate that across all of the sizes, because I think that pullover had like 10 sizes. So it was my first sweater design, so I was like, you know what? I will develop my short rows on my next sweater design. And they were talking about Japanese short rows, which I've never heard of before, but they said that they really, really like Japanese short rows because and someone correct me if that's not the right term. You may know what I'm talking about, and it's actually known as something else. That's just what they were calling it, was Japanese short rows. They prefer Japanese short rows to German short rows because they are much more invisible. So I would like to look into Japanese short rows, although I don't know. The translator for the captions was kind of off, but I feel like they were saying they could not find a video that accurately describes the technique of Japanese short rows. So if I cannot find that technique, on YouTube or anything, I will probably end up contacting them to see how exactly Japanese short rows are done, and compensate them for their time, of course, because it's basically like a teaching lesson. Or if they have any resources where they figured out how to do the Japanese short rows. So I'm excited to look into that. And let's see, what else last night? So I cast on a pair of socks. This is my first time knitting socks on size 1 needles. Only I want to say it was the third time making fingering weight socks. I haven't made a whole lot of socks. I've probably made 3 pair in my life. I've only been knitting for 2 years, but I've probably only made like 2 or 3 pairs. So I cast on a pair of socks last night. They are called the Otis socks. Let's see if I can get this in here without, will it focus? Look at me. I'm a beauty guru. Maybe? You probably wouldn't be able to see it anyway. It's, nope. It's a waffle pattern. So the reason I was looking for a waffle pattern sock is because this is Hue Loco yarn, one of her chicken colorways. This is, okay, I'm gonna attempt to say this correctly. I believe this is called the Red Wyandotte. And so I've seen photos of this knit up and it pools a lot. And I'm not a fan of pooling. So I have separated these into 2 different cakes, and I believe this is called helical knitting. I am doing 1 row from this cake, and then the next row comes from the other cake. So I'm attempting to disrupt that pooling, and I lined them up so that the red of this cake was aligned with the white of this cake. So what I was hoping for was that it would be, you know, kind of striped, kind of. I don't really know what I was going for. All I know is I did not want red to line up with red and grayish blue silver to line up with grayish blue silver. So far, it's kind of working, kind of not. I feel like every 4 rows, it's starting to want to, see, it was fine up here. I had red, white, red, or red, gray, red, silver, red, gray, blue, silver, red. But as you can see, it is starting to pool. So I needed a sock that wasn't just, I don't want like a plain vanilla sock, so I had to choose something with a texture that would go along with either pooling or a very high variegation if I had like the stripes going on. I might try to correct the pooling again and cut my yarn. See, it's starting to line up again. Starting to. So I might cut the yarn and attempt to disrupt that pooling again, but I don't want to have way too many ends to weave in. Plus, when you have that, you have like stitches that are not, they're like looser stitches. They're not, you know, nice, evenly knit stitches. So, but then again, it's just, at the same time, it's just a pair of socks. How many people are going to be up being nosy on your socks? No judgment if you are one of those people. So right now I have just separated. I don't put a big cuff on my socks. These are shorties. I always knit shorties. It's always shorties. I don't have the patience for long socks, so it's always shorties for me. So I don't put very much ribbing on my socks. This is probably like a 1/2 inch. For as long as I can remember, I've always bought socks that are like either close to no-show socks or they just have like a 1/2 inch band around the cuff. So that's why I knit my socks that way. It's just what I'm used to. It's what I like. If they do stick up out of my shoes, I only want like a tiny bit sticking up out of my shoes. I don't want, you know, all the way up my ankle socks sticking up out of my shoes. So, and I am knitting these on Addi Flexi Flips. This is a long one. This is already 10 minutes. We're already 10 minutes into this. I'm so sorry. Hopefully you guys prefer whenever I talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. So it'll be like a bunch of me talking and then a little bit of footage from Gabby, probably. Because Gabby has self-control. I do not. So these are Addi Flexi Flips. My first time knitting with size 1s. My first time knitting with Addi Flexi Flips. So if you're not familiar with them, they look like this. They come in sets of 3. So it's basically like a set of circulars, but the cord is extremely small. And they call them Flexi Flips because they flex. And you can flip which side you want to use on this end. Let's see if I can beat a guru. Nope. So on this end, it is a more tapered, sharp edge. And on this end, it is a more blunt edge. I have found that with fingering weight size 1, I prefer the blunt tip. It just glides in easier. I don't know. I just kind of like have a moment whenever I go to stick the tapered sharp end into a stitch. It's just like a little moment. I don't know. It's like I'm anticipating splitting a stitch, but the actual splitting never happens. But nonetheless, I am going with the tapered end. It's both the same size on each end, by the way. It's just that one's blunt and one's sharp. I did not enjoy cast on with these. Not the cast on, the cuff. I did not enjoy the cuff. But I also feel like at the same time, anytime you're using like DPNs or Magic Loop or Addi Flexi Flips, apparently, the first part of whatever you're knitting is always just fumbly and awkward, and you're trying to figure out how to hold things without stretching things or, you know, making wonky stitches. But it is the same for Addi Flexi Flips. The beginning of the knitting is not fun. It's kind of challenging. But so my first impressions of this are that I would rather be using DPNs. But I think it's because I'm so familiar with DPNs. I'm not a fan of Magic Loop. And the only reason I'm not a fan of Magic Loop is because of the amount of time between half rows. Like, because whenever you're knitting on Magic Loop, you're only knitting half of a row. So, yeah, so whenever you knit half of a row, you got to turn your work, you got to get your needles into position, you got to pull the cord and, you know, make sure that your yarn is laying over to the back and yada yada. So not a fan of Magic Loop. Takes way too long. It's way too long. I will also say with the sharp ends of these, if you are anyone that has like a sensory disorder, like I have a sensory disorder with my hands, when they touch certain things, it's like forks on a plate, like it kills me. The sharp ends, I wonder if like one is like a certain type. No. I was gonna see if maybe like one end is Addi Turbo, the other end is like Addi. Isn't there another one? Addi. Anywho, but anyways, so the sharper, more tapered end has a slight texture. It's almost as if the finish was only partially put on. So, yeah, do not enjoy using the sharp ends. It's the blunt end for me. And I have just separated stitches for my heel. So we're at 15 minutes now. Good Lord. Let's go, Michael. So I am going to first put my plan together for the day, the things that I need to do. I want to, let's see, what do I want to do? I want to do necklaces. I need to add more letters to the Weasley stocking. And I need to edit the podcast, and I need to do a little bit of photography work. So those are my 4 big things that I want to do today. So I'm gonna get off here and I'm gonna start writing my planner. Just got my list together and now I'm going to sit down and make the heel of my sock while also catching up on, I think I'm gonna do Christina of Chelsea Yarns, Christina and Red Bank Mike, catch up on their Vlogmas, while also letting my Merge Dragons run. And yeah. I am only halfway through my heel, but I just realized that I'm starving, so I am gonna take a break and make some lunch. Hello, hello! You guys, look, it is getting dark so quickly the last couple days. It's only 4:30 right now. Don't pay attention to that clock because that clock ain't have batteries in it for like probably a year and a half. And the reason is not because we're lazy, it's because the hands on it, like we'll tighten the hands on it, or maybe they're called arms. Clock hands. Feel like hands is correct. Yes, hands. The hands, we tighten them, and then they just untighten. It's really weird. So we just put it up for decoration. But anywho, 4:30, I had to stop knitting on my heel again and take a photo for Instagram because my friend Senna released the Marred Alaska that I was wearing a couple days ago. I can't remember what Vlogmas it was. Maybe it was Vlogmas Day 2. But, so I did that, posted Instagram. My heel is finally done. Let me get all of these ends out of the way here. My heel is done. I'm in love with this red, like so in love with it. It's my favorite red. It's like a rusty orange red. Whew, she outdid herself on that color. I did end up having to cut one of my colors in order to, one of my main colors in order to establish a new beginning of round. So I restructured my pooling. So hopefully that works. You can see my camera stand. Well, it's a phone stand and a camera stand, but I use it for my phone. That's what I take my Instagram photos with when it's just me home. So anyway, I don't even remember what I was saying. Don't even remember. Oh, my pooling should be back on track. Maybe we'll see if it like tries to correct itself again. But I am, unfortunately, it is time for work now. So I am going to probably turn on some Christmas movies and get some computer work done. It is now the evening time. I spent a lot of time on photography work, so I didn't get much other stuff done. Let's see. It's Elizabeth's birthday today, so say happy birthday to her in the comments. We just had pizza and wine, but I think I'm gonna make some coffee. I'm really in the mood for coffee right now. And let's see, I am about to sit down and edit the podcast. That's another thing on my list that I need to do today, so I'm going to do that. And while I'm editing the podcast, I am going to knit on my socks. And I'll check in with you guys probably before bed. There's the birthday girl.
Well, I guess not technically anymore as of 33 minutes ago, but I'll fucking take it.
How old are you? Elizabeth is trying out the Addy Flexi Flips. What do you think, Elizabeth?
I'm sweating.
You're sweating. This is your first time knitting with fingering weight, right?
Mm-hmm. It's so tiny.
Do you like it compared to the bigger yarns?
If I wasn't trying to not drop this needle, I would say it's not too bad. I do like the thick and quicks.
Mm-hmm. Same.
I mean, I feel like especially with this weight, I don't really have to worry about splitting as bad.
True.
But there's just something so satisfying about just even with a thick yarn, like a nice tight knit with the thick yarn.
Yes. Cozy and fast.
Like that beautiful new stocking you just came out with.
You like?
I like.
Yeah. Elizabeth is a Harry Potter fan too. A bigger one than I am.
I guess I could. Hang on, let me finish this pro.
What are you again? A Hufflepuff?
I'm a Gryffindor, bitch.
Can I zoom with this thing? I can zoom. I can see every hair on your arm.
Ooh. Tuck them back into place.
I can see. That's cute.
Thank you.
Oh, I zoomed out way too far. We saw your pizza plate and everything. Teases.
I ate way too much earlier, but it's fine. It was my birthday. I'm allowed to eat like that on my birthday.
So, are you going to be casting on your first pair of socks tomorrow, or?
We'll see. To be continued.
You've knit one thing, Magic Loop, right?
Yes.
What was it?
There was that lacework hat that I was finishing up. It was the...
yes, the decreases.
Because it was definitely not going to work.
So that means you've never done a heel. Oh. We're going to have to learn Elizabeth some more knitting stuff.
I have so many projects that I've set forth for myself.
You know what you need?
What do I need?
Christmas Eve socks. That's what you need.
Ooh,
Them things is cozy.
they look really cozy.
But anyway, that's Elizabeth. She's trying out the Addy Flexi Flips. What, are they awkward?
A little bit.
They're very awkward. I'm
And
still trying to get used to them.
I've only been knitting since, what did we figure out? August
Yeah, not too long.
of this year.
She's messed up like one stitch in her knitting career.
Whatever. There was like 3 in that lace work hat that I did.
Hmm. Can you point them out if I bring the hat over here?
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Because I can feel the little pieces of my soul crying out.
I can't stand you.
I promise, it's okay.